Hello and welcome to the GMS Magazine channel. I am Paco Garcia, your host, and today I bring you a much anticipated review of a really iconic role-playing game. I'm talking about the Alien role-playing game published by Free League. I bought this at Dragon Meet last year, and since I've read it, is this game actually worth the amount of money that I had to pay to get my hands on it? Welcome to the GMS Magazine RPG Reviews. Free League has produced some absolutely fantastic, really fantastic role-playing games, and with Alien they've really stepped up into taking a much loved IP that hasn't seen a role-playing game for a very long time, and I cannot imagine this must have been a cheap license to get. Alien, the Xenomorphs, have been with us, well, since Ripley decided to kick some alien ass in 1978. And ever since, a whole universe has sparked around it. Living up to that in a role-playing game is never an easy task, ever. So taking on to this, wow, quite something. In the unbooking video I did a few weeks ago, then I showed that the book really is gorgeous. To recap, we have a 400 pages book, give or take, hardback, full color, full of absolutely glorious everything, from maps to a wonderful table of content, some fantastic layout, and truly breathtaking illustrations. The whole thing is wonderful to look at. But what happens when you start reading it? Well, what happens is that things get better. Way better. One thing about this book is that it's incredibly easy to read. Even though generally I am not a friend of very big, thick tomes, the fact is that because of the really artistic and happy, go-lucky space, amount of space they have used for everything, layout, the text doesn't really overwhelm you. Everything is given in small chunks, very small little bits here and there, that really makes it joy to read because everything is compartmentalized. So I love it. Despite the fact that I have dyslexia, one of the issues that I have is that reading against a dark background makes life very hard. The font that they have used to actually do the black backgrounds is very easy to read. Very easy, which is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. What's in the game? Okay, let's take a proper look. Everything you need to play is here. From character creation to the universe, how to create your monsters, and even a very short adventure at the very end of the book, which is brilliant. Character creation is actually quite simple. It doesn't have an awful lot to it, and if we take a look at the character sheet, which is here, there isn't a lot to it. You have 4 key attributes, which are strength, wits, empathy, and agility. Those are the 4 core attributes that are going to govern how many dice you use to roll whatever it is you need to roll. After that, there are some related abilities like close combat, stamina, or heavy machinery that are related to strength. Observation, survival, and contact are related to wits. Command, manipulation, and medical aid are related to empathy, and range combat, mobility, and piloting to agility. You're going to allocate a number of points based on some points that you have to spread around, and each one of them is going to give you a number of dice, d6s. This is where the mechanisms have been very well thought out, but I'm going to go into that in a second. After that, you have your relationships. Love it, absolutely love that characters within the party have to have some sort of relationship. And that relationship is going to come in the shape of who's your friend and who's your rival. So you're not really going to get along with everybody all the time. And this is also very, very important. You're going to get some stress. It's Alien, come on, the stress is, hello, there's something really wrong with you if you wouldn't get some stress. Your experience points, what talent you're going to have, and those talents are going to allow you to perform, different roles, or to push your role in a different manner, or to recover some stress points, so on and so forth. You can get radiated, because space is kind of dangerous. There's lots of things happening. And then you have your conditions that can be starving, dehydration, exhaustion, or freezing. Because, space, cold. Designing your character is going to take you about 15 minutes, give or take 20 perhaps, more or less. There are some classes to choose from, like the roughneck, or the scientist, or the executive. But although there are enough to give us a very good idea as to what the universe has to offer, there aren't that many that you're going to be completely bonged up with having to make 1,000 decisions to decide what kind of character you want to have. If you want to have, a well-and-yutani executive, the overall feel of the character is going to be this. After that, you mix whatever you want. Character creation is actually quite rewarding. I did like it because it does, like everything else in this game, fit really well with the Alien universe. And I'm not talking just about the classic movie. I'm also talking about the rather questionable, more modern ones. Mechanisms. Wow. Wow. Essentially, you're going to get a pool of dice, roll them. If you get 5 or 6s, we're talking successes. Anything below that, failures. But that's it. Failures. However, do something a bit more complicated. Witness something a bit too scary. And then you get stress dice. Now things start to get interesting. Because stress dice, 6s, are going to be successes. By the way, I say 5 or 6, I changed that in my own game, it's 6. But I changed to 5, 6 to make it slightly easier to the newbie players I was playing with. 6s are successes. Once in the stress die, they trigger consequences. And here's where things begin to get really tense. Really, really tense. You also get stress dice when you push your roll. Say that you need to open a lock and you fail. You can push the roll. That means you roll again. But once you roll again, you add a stress die. And what that's doing is saying, yeah, okay, you can push yourself, but there's a consequence. There's always a potential consequence. Once you gain a stress die, it stays with you for any roll you make. So you have to be very careful, because if you're going to do something that you're not very skilled at, suddenly, instead of having one stress die for 5 of your normal attributes, you're going to have one stress die for maybe 3. The odds change a ton. And that makes the game really fun and exciting for me. Once you get your successes, you start to count them. One success, just the one, means that you've actually achieved what you wanted to do. If you get more successes, then things also begin to get interesting, because you're going to trigger some events. Like, for instance, you can do more damage, or you can ping an enemy so they cannot move. It depends on what you're doing. everything is going to have a list of the effects of having more than one success. We really loved it. When we played it around the table, we absolutely loved it, because you can choose and decide how things are going to change, how things are going to evolve depending on what you need to do. So the formula, although it's by no means infinite, it doesn't become constrictive. You know, it's not a matter of you hit so you can do 1 point of damage or 3 points of damage. No, not at all. You can do 1 point of damage, or you can pin your enemy to the ground, or you can swap your initiatives. Initiatives, by the way, are dealt with in the shape of cards between 1 and 10, or ace and 10 if you want to use a normal set of cards, because you can buy specific alien set of cards. One goes faster and the other one goes slower. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And that initiative remains for the duration of the combat. That's it. There is plenty of equipment. Plenty. But not so much that you're going to be thinking, oh my god, why do I need 300 or 200 guns? No, well, you're not going to get that. You're going to get maybe 20 guns, 25, something like that. Same goes for any kind of transportation, so on and so forth. The only thing that you can customize a great deal more is transport, especially spaceships. In fact, that I liked an awful lot, because you get a list or several lists of things that you can do and buy for your spaceship and how much everything costs. So if you want to have the gravity engine that's going to take you 10 times over the speed of light, then that's going to cost you X. If you want something that's going to take you 600 times over the speed of light, then that's going to cost you X and X. That's it. Something I forgot to mention for the stress. You are going to roll 2d6s. Yeah, this is fun. It's a d66, except that you don't go from 1 to 66. You get 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 21, 22, 23, so on and so forth. And you get a list of those 36 effects that could happen if you have to roll for your stress or whatever else. It really is very cool. Very, very cool. By the way, if you accumulate too much stress, your character bye-bye. It's only so much that you can withstand. Aliens. Come on, let's talk about the aliens. No, actually, I'm going to talk before that. I'm going to talk to you about the universe. They make sense. Oh my god, they make sense. Which is fantastic. One of the things that, many things, that I didn't like about the more modern films is that technology appeared to be way more advanced than that in the Nostromo. Yeah, that didn't make sense to me at all. This game actually gets to explain why, which is wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. This book actually explains to you why Ripley has a green phosphor, green screen, or a big massive mechanic keyboard with a cathode tube screen rather than wonderfully shiny, LEDs or whatever it is they're going to be using in 200 years' time. It's wonderful. There is, at the beginning of the book, as well as the map, which I have to say was a little bit confusing. That star map, quite confusing. It's very difficult to really figure out where everything else is. But because there's so much data, so many things to look into, it's a bit difficult. But one of the things that we get is this, which is a timeline. I love me timelines, really do. I think they're absolutely wonderful. They explain the main events that take place between now and the year 2190 that, trigger all the space race and how humanity have managed to conquer the stars. I only have one tiny little niggle with this, and it looks like too short. For example, it only takes 15 years between colonizing Mars, I believe, terraforming Mars, and then what is it? Going on to speedlights. It was a bit. It just felt too fast. We discovered something in 2023, and in 2031 we're already colonizing Mars in 6 years. I know that science and technology advances very fast, but it just felt a little bit too much. It might be me, and it's a minor niggle, to be perfectly honest. But the thing is that it managed to explain how the Weyland Yutani came and went and came back again, and why they are so powerful, where is the whole socio-political spectrum of the universe around, why are people poor, what is the corporate environment like. And it makes plenty sense. It really, really does. Then we go on to, let's talk about Xenomorphs, and they are explained in beautiful detail with all sorts of absolutely fantastic scales. So we know exactly how big and how small they're going to be, what kind of stages there are, how you're going to be able to use them, what happens if you don't have a queen to lay eggs, or what happens if you have a face hugger, or what happens if they attach to a different animal that's not a human. The whole thing's here. And I tell you, they are terrifying. They are truly, truly terrifying. Those are the kind of foes that you have to be very careful in how you use, because they could wipe off the whole party in one single combat. They're really, really tough. But then, hello, alien. They are meant to be. There is a small bestiary of things that people have found in all the planets. But that's it. There is no more. There's a fair amount of descriptions as to what the planets are out there and what you can find, but they're mostly constrained to the colony bases that whatever corporation have set up. There's no real exploration of the planet other than the mention of the architects. It's a bit, we need more on that side. A lot more. And then there's the adventure, and the adventure, which is called Hadley's Hope Last Day, which begins, this literally places us on the days before the start of the second film of Aliens, before the Colonial Marines arrive with Ripley. This is where it places us, essentially. So yeah, it's wow. The whole thing is perfectly laid out with all your characters, with absolutely everything that you need. And the base. The whole thing is very good. It's a very short adventure. I give you just one, perhaps 2 sessions, depending on how long your sessions are. And that is pretty much it. I could go into a lot more detail, but I'd rather give you my conclusions. Production-wise, the book is fantastic. One thing to keep in mind, because of the material that this cover is made of, you will see signs of use. Just carrying it, just your finger are gonna leave some marks. That's not necessarily that it's bad quality. It's just the material. The binding is excellent, absolutely excellent, and the printing is absolutely wonderful. The game is very entertaining, and it has been really well put together. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely yes. Hell yes. This is a fantastic, fantastic reflection of what the alien world is all about. However, it's perfect? No. I missed more creepy crawlies. I really missed having more alien creatures. I can't believe for a second that there are dozens of planets that have been colonized, some of them with previous, life forms, but we only get 3. I wanted to see more of that. I wanted to see 40, 50. Don't get me wrong, I understand that is not an easy thing to do, and bestiary should be the place to put it. But they just feel like, oh, well, here, 3 more creatures in these particular planets, and this one in particular goes everywhere because they are like space rats. I didn't see that as being enough. It needed something else. It would have been very nice if at least one of the planets, even if it's just one of the planets, had been described in greater detail for adventures to take place there until more adventures are being published. That's the only thing I'm missing. This game has one risk. 2. In fact, both I have experienced already. 1, meta play. Unless whoever is playing has not watched the Alien films, and that's possible, but unlikely, it is very easy to figure out what's going on. And it is very hard to detach yourself from your character. It's really, really, really hard. In fact, I have one of my players who just can't do it. So I'm constantly having to put him down. He just can't do it. That can become annoying, and you have to pact with all your players how you're going to handle that. Because otherwise, everybody's just going to try to second guess you. And more importantly, what happens is that it becomes the players versus the GM, because they know that the GM can kill them at any time. So the whole thing becomes an exercise in trying to stay alive, trying to fight any decision that the GM makes, rather than try to leave the story and discover what's going on. That is one of the biggest risks around the table. And the second is the longevity. Whether we like it or not, we're likely to find ourselves repeating the movies time and time and time and time again. This is nothing to do with the game itself, but with the universe and the world that we're playing in. The game does give you enough background on the political intricacies of corporate life in 200 years' time. But aliens. Everything goes around the architects, and everything goes around the Xenomorphs. So even if there are these political intricacies and plotting and corporate takeovers and taking downs, they all seem to be centered around the alien experience. So doing something that's going to make the stories different is going to take some while, and we are going to need a bit more guidance on that from Free League itself. Do I think this is worth it? Yes. If you want a game with a really well-known IP, with a very well-known universe that you can just throw yourself into, be very familiar, and relive the films, this is the game for you. This really is the game for you. If you want anything else, this needs more development, and I very much look forward to seeing what else is going to be published, not just adventure-wise, but to add more supplements, more planets, more characters, more situations, more creatures. But yes, get this. Just the way it is very, very well worth it. Thank you very much indeed for being there. It is truly appreciated. Please do leave me your comments down there in the video comments section, which I very much look forward to hearing. And until the next time, I will talk to you very, very soon. Take care.